Alright, so in this video, this is your very second tutorial on sketching. We're going to be going over how to trim and extend lines. And then in the next video, we'll move on to these other ones. Alright, so we're just going to jump in this, trim entities. So I just went to trim, and you'll notice all these different options. My personal favorite is power trim. And that's just because it's kind of brainless. You don't have to think about it. You just kind of do it, because when you're actually drawing in SolidWorks and all these really complicated assemblies, you're not going to be thinking about every little detail about how to do it the fastest way. You're going to develop your habits and then you're going to execute them. So my personal habit is going to be going to power trim, and whenever you're in power trim, if you click in your screen, as long as you're in a trim mode, then you'll see a gray line up here. Now anything that crosses this gray line, any entity that crosses this line, is going to be trimmed away. So if you notice how it's trimming, you'll see how it's thinking. Alright, so very simple. Now in order to undo what you just did, all you have to do is hold Control and hit Z, and that'll just undo what you did. And you can also do that by going to the very top and you see this curved arrow. That is also how you undo it. But holding Control and hitting Z is just a hotkey, and that's what I like to do. Another way to trim lines is corner trim. Like I said in the tutorial before, the easiest way to learn sketching is just by doing it yourself. So getting into sketch mode, drawing on a top right or front face or plane, and sketching just 2D geometry, just playing around, drawing circles, lines, trimming them together. That's the best way to learn how this software thinks, because once you understand how the software thinks, you'll be able to create geometry more easily. Alright, corner trim. If you click any line and then another line, it's going to trim those two together to an intersection. So by clicking this angled line right here, if I click on, I'm going to trim this vertical line and this angled line together, and I want this right side and this vertical top of this angled line to stay there. So I select this vertical line on top of this horizontal line, and I select the right side of this vertical line, and it keeps those. So anything you select is what it's going to keep. It's kind of hard to explain. It's more easy to just actually do it yourself, and then you'll be able to understand how it thinks. So I hit Control Z, and then I'm going to go back into Trim Entities. Trim away outside and inside. Now I don't really use these, but they can come in handy. What you have to do is go to Trim away inside, and it's asking for you to select two bounding entities, meaning that two main lines, kind of like a railroad. And then everything on the inside of those two lines that crosses both lines is going to get trimmed away. So if I select over everything, notice how it trimmed everything away except for this line and this line, which did not cross both lines. Alright? Fairly simple. And you can also go to Trim Entities, trim away inside, and pick your two main bounding entities. And then you can individually pick the ones that are crossing those. But like I said, it will not pick the two that aren't crossing both of them at the same time. Hit Control Z. Alright. Now we're moving on to trim away outside, which is the exact same concept. So if I pick two main bounding lines, and then I select all of them, notice how it trims everything from the outside of those two lines. So that can definitely come in handy. So we're going to hit Control Z. I'm going to show you guys what trim to the closest is. So it trims to the closest line. So if I pick that line, that line. So if you guys have used SurfCam before, it's kind of like power trim, same concept. And you'll understand, like I said, how SolidWorks thinks once you use it a few times. Alright, so that covers trim. If you guys have any questions, please don't be afraid to leave a comment or email us, and we'll be able to answer or try our best to answer the question the best we can. We're going to move on to extend entities, which is very simple. You just go to extend entities and you hover over the line that you want to extend, and you'll notice a little red line pop up, and that's just showing you where that line is going to extend to. So it's just going to extend to the nearest line that it intersects. So if it does not intersect a line, notice how this line right here doesn't extend into infinity. It just doesn't do anything. So it has to actually be going to intersect another line down the road. So that comes in handy. Alright, that covers this tutorial. In the next tutorial we are going to be showing you guys how to offset entities such as circles and boxes.